then he asked, what do you joke about? Like, again. And I just looked at his shirt. I realized he was U.S. Border Patrol, and I kind of froze.
Yeah.
And he, almost to help me out, asked, do you make fun of politicians?
We are here with stand-up comedian Jena Friedman. So happy to have you on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Oh, that's my camera. I don't know why I couldn't find it. I was like,
where are you, camera? Really excited to have you, especially right now, especially when it feels like the world is just toppling on itself. You had an experience not that long ago where you went through customs.
Yeah.
And can you tell us what happened? Because it was very inspiring for me. And now every time I go through customs, which has been a lot lately, I put the JD Vance memes as my background.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't mean to scare everybody. I was coming back from Vancouver. I had done a TED Talk in Vancouver that was like comedic.
It's pretty cool.
I guess so. It was so random. But then I was at the gate. So you go through security, and I was still in the Vancouver airport, and I had my guard down. So there was a checkpoint. I didn't realize it was U.S. Border Patrol. The guy just asked, what were you in town for? I said he asked if I was here for work. I wanted to make sure he knew I wasn't getting paid and violating some sort of work.
Yeah, because then
I've
like
had that happen before where like
Yeah.
I'm doing stand-up in Canada. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a visa. So I overshared. I said I was performing comedy at TED. I wasn't paid. I should have been paid.
You should have been paid.
I know. We were given a
thing.
stipend.
Oh, yay.
So...
For one poutine.
Yeah, for one poutine. It was a cool experience. But when I said I was a comedian, he said, what do you joke about? And this is embarrassing to say. I don't know why I turned into like a middle-aged dad flirting, but I was like, everything other than airport security. I don't know why I said that. I just was trying to be, I was like, I'm in Canada. I didn't realize it was you. I was just like, I had a great set last night in front of a bunch of tech bros. And his face, he didn't even register that I was joking, which happens all the time because I look like Ann Romney. People don't think I'm funny.
Oh, shit, you do look like Ann Romney.
I do, or like Ted Cruz's wife.
You look like a Kennedy's wife, for sure.
Yeah. So, but I had an American passport, and so then he asked, what do you joke about? Like, again, and I just looked at his shirt. I realized he was U.S. Border Patrol, and I kind of froze. Because I was like, what do I say?
Yeah.
And he, almost to help me out, asked, do you make fun of politicians? And it wasn't...
Was that to help you out?
Well, but here's the thing. It was to help me out in the sense of, he really was just like, I'm just following orders. I'm going about my day. He wasn't trying to fuck with me. He wasn't like trying to troll me or anything. He just literally was like, this is my job now.
Yeah, he was like, this is what you say no to.
Oh, I see.
Well, because... So I said no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just like turned into like the teenager being asked if I had been drinking. And I was just like, no. And he let me right through. Not an issue.
Yeah.
But then once I got through, I was like, I can't believe I was asked that. And
that's insane.
I texted a couple friends coming back who aren't like white women who look like Ann Romney. And I was like, just don't say that you're a politician. Or sorry, I'm so tired. Just don't say that you're a
comedian.
A comedian joking about politicians. Thanks. And then when I got back, I have a friend who works for in Adam Schiff's office, and I told him about it. And he had sent me a meme that I could show you that was posted on ICE's website the day before that said, stop at the border. It said like weapons, drugs, something else, and ideas.
ICE posted that?
And then they took it down from their website.
Interesting.
But I believe, and I was because I fact check everything because I'm so paranoid that I actually double checked that was real. And there's a whole thing on Politico about how they put it up. I believe they put it up maybe April 10th. I went across the border on April 11th. So just to give context, it makes sense why he would be asking about ideas.
Yeah.
And the guy wasn't white, not like it matters, but he wasn't like your typical like white guy Trump supporter. And he was trying to help me out. He was like, do you make fun of politicians? And I just said no.
Right.
Could I said, yeah, you got a problem with that? Sure, but you're at the border. Yeah, but you're at the border.
You want to get home.
You want to get home. I had a flight to catch. You have, there's no cameras. So
That's
you don't,
true.
and as a woman across from a man, you just do what you have to do to just get through. So I could have my whole point about it is like, don't be a hero in those situations. But then when I came back, I just doubled down and I'm talking about it everywhere and I posted about it. I didn't post my answer at the time because I was still nervous. Like, did I lie at customs? Am I going to get in trouble? And the answer is no. I don't make fun of politicians. I did.
Yeah, you did a TED Talk not on politicians, on comedy.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is alarming though that they would even ask that because I would say out of all the times I've encountered Border Patrol through doing comedy, maybe less. I would need less than one hand to count how many times they've actually asked me questions. So
But never do you make fun of politicians.
Never.
Right.
But it's always like, oh, were you here to see your friend? Oh, how
Right.
long you staying? What hotel you staying in? That's always a weird one.
But it was also going back. It wasn't going into Canada. That's the thing. I've been asked many questions going into other countries.
Sure.
But never as a U.S. citizen with an American passport coming back into the U.S.
Right.
So that's why I was so, I just didn't. I've traveled a ton. I've never really been interrogated coming back from a country, unless, you're coming back from somewhere and they think you're smuggling drugs and
Sure.
just ask you what's in your bag, did you pack your bag, but nothing else.
And how you said, yes, I do make fun of politicians. I wonder what the protocol would have been.
Well, legally, they're not allowed to detain U.S. citizens, but everything's changing so fast.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
kind
was in April, and now, I don't know. I do think it's important to just talk about it as much as you can.
yeah.
And I'm coming back again in August after Edinburgh, so I hope it'll be seamless. I'm definitely joking about it. I've been joking about it. If you do Google me, the first thing that comes up is customs.
Oh, really?
Because I wrote a New Yorker piece afterwards. I'm making fun of them. I just doubled down.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what you do. If
Of course.
you just double down right now while you can, you kind of put as much pressure. And also
before comedy is illegal.
and the freedom of expression is the one thing that unites us with the podcast bros. Everybody, all those guys who had Trump on their podcast and jerk off to him when,
Every day.
after bad sets. I don't know. I don't know.
100%.
Whatever, Andrew Schultz, whatever. I don't know what he does in his spare time. But all of those guys who normalized Trump and helped soften him and have him appeal to a wide voter base.
Right.
Also believe in freedom of expression. They also don't want to be told they can't joke about stuff.
Absolutely.
So talking about it, it's can't we agree that we should be able to joke about stuff? Maybe we can't all be on the same page about immigration reform or ICE coming into cities like LA and just abducting people in broad daylight. That to me is the most egregious thing that's happened recently.
Absolutely.
And it puts my situation, it's weird to talk about it because I'm it's not about me. It wasn't scary. It's just a thing that happened, and thankfully it happened to me, and I'm able to joke about it to a large swath of people. But the shit with ICE in LA right now and in other cities where they're just deputizing these random masked men to terrorize communities, it's crazy.
And the fact that they're trying to get people at immigration courts when they're doing the legal thing of showing
of
up
it.
it's so disgusting. It makes me enraged. And it's speaking of the podcast bros, I was so when Trump got elected the first time, I remember Corinne and I, we shot a video of us at our Airbnb in Los Angeles eating McDonald's French fries, just staring off into the abyss because we were really couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
We woke up that day certain we were going to have the first female president.
Yeah.
We're skipping around.
Yeah, we were.
I think that's our
so
generation of women, particularly white women.
Sure.
We're the Title IX generation, which for me was equal funding in men and women's sports. We can do anything. You haven't experienced racism. You haven't experienced these things. We really thought the future is female. And I think it was
Girl
that
boss.
election was a referendum on gender and we lost. And I think it was very devastating, whereas friends of mine who are not white were yeah, I told you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really, and then when he won the second time, Corinne has been saying this to me the entire duration of Guys We Fuck, but America, the world at large, sure, but America specifically doesn't like women. We don't respect women.
Yeah.
We don't give them equality. And these podcast bros that are shocked about the Epstein thing not being released, I'm how, you're not, I wouldn't classify you as a dumb person, but wait
a minute.
if you do, but no, a lot of these guys, I'm wait a second, and then they started having Trump on, and I'm Huh? What the fuck? The amount of sexual assault allegations that Trump has had that have been public
For decades.
for the last 25 years is insane. So I'm like, you don't care about women. Like, why do you want the Epstein files released? You don't. Do you all of a sudden care about women? This makes no sense. What do you make of it?
Okay, so I actually have a weird conspiracy about it. I think Trump was brought into power this time by the tech guys because they didn't want AI regulated. And so they didn't want a Democrat in power. And now they don't need him anymore. So this Epstein thing that has always existed, they're putting it back into the mainstream to get people to care. And then they'll usher in an era of J.D. Vance as president. This is just like, I'm not an expert. I'm just a comedian. And maybe I shouldn't be saying stuff like this because we don't need more conspiracies out there.
You're pretty well researched.
It just makes sense. Also, I'm selling ivermectin. No.
How much?
But it's like, why now? To answer the question of why everyone cares now, I would say also those guys, Elon Musk, Peter, they have control over the like media ecosystem now because of Twitter or whatever you want to call it, X and all this shit. So it's like they're in charge of what we see and what we read. And so for the Epstein stuff to come back, I mean, it makes sense as to why it would be now. Trump is no longer useful to them.
That's interesting. I mean, there is like the right is specifically very obsessed with pedophilia. Not to say that the left doesn't care
the whole
about
Pizzagate thing, but to me, the Pizzagate thing was like a deliberate thing to kind of take it off of. It's like Soviet era propaganda where it's like, we'll accuse you of what we're doing.
But the main guy in January 6th that had the horns tweeted out, like, fuck you, you piece of shit, to Trump with regards of not releasing the Epstein file. And I'm like, that guy's not invested in tech. But I'm like...
That's just like a persuadable, maybe mentally ill person who fell for, the grift and is now falling for another grift. I mean...
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen?
In terms of...
the world...
I think the AI stuff is really okay. So I agree with you, but I also, it's been worse.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that we're talking and that we're
allowed to
not
talk.
being raped at this moment.
Yay.
Sorry. I don't know.
I love that.
I almost said, I'm like,
let's go,
we're
girls.
all women in our late 30s who don't have kids. Yeah. I'm that disconnected from my reality.
Right. Good for you. Honestly, it's
The
nice.
joke is she has a kid.
I do have he's the love of my life.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's wild. They don't. I also don't tell you, and I don't want to. I'm very conflicted because I identify as a childless woman. I do, but I have a son, and I feel he is just the love of my life, and it was something I didn't. It wasn't something that I wanted.
Really?
I didn't not want it. I just didn't. I was just not. I didn't know.
You just did it. You're like, I guess.
Well, when you're living in New York, you're like a Peter Pan. I had a great life. I was just like, why am I gonna fuck this up? It's scary. It's scary to be pregnant in America. It's scary to be a mom. Our country hates moms. I talk about this in my show. But and then the pandemic really domesticated me. I was seeing this guy. We really, for the first time, kind of rooted. And then we ended up getting married. And then he really wanted a kid. And I really didn't want to move.
Well, see, part of my theory is I'm like, I think it's a good deal if the guy wants a kid more than the woman.
He is the best.
Then I know you're gonna help.
That's
what?
the thing.
Every man I ever met wants a kid more than a woman. That's my whole
here's the
problem.
thing.
I was like so mad because I thought that this would be a great selling point that I didn't want a kid.
That's true too.
It's not.
No,
it's the worst selling point ever.
No, but the thing about everybody pretends that we're like the women are baby crazy, whatever. But it is more because being a dad is
you just go
just great.
If
and then you have a kid.
If I have to hear one more fucking man say who's going to carry on my legacy, and I go, your legacy of what?
$37.
Your
That's
legacy
funny.
of what?
Bitcoin.
Right. But the thing is, so if you have a partner so he had a dog, a tiny dog, Potato, the cutest dog ever. Potato passed away.
Oh, rest in peace, Potato.
I know. Potato passed away. And so, but Potato lived till 16. And so it was like,
Nice.
you could tell that he was a caretaker. Also like a straight guy with a small dog. That's like a thing. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, cool choice. And, and he was he's a caretaker. So but you need to have that or just a ton of money and have childcare.
Right.
So he's why I'm able to be here and go to Edinburgh and do my show because
That's a good deal.
So it's
And you love your son. I mean, that's
more than I
that's
just
like
didn't-
luck of the draw, though, isn't it?
we have the coolest kid, and I just didn't
That's
know
nice.
I didn't know that the love of your life could be your kid. And no one ever talked about that. And I'm fully aware of like what's going on, so I feel like a sellout and a hypocrite by being like, it's really great. Like somebody asked me in an interview, like, what's the thing about being a parent that surprises you? And I was like, I didn't know it'd be so joyful. And I feel
Oh, that's nice.
That's good, though.
I love hearing that.
But I also think if I didn't have a kid, it would also be fine. Like I do think, I had a joke that no one ever laughed at. That was like, I feel bad.
Those are my favorite. Those are always the best.
Because those are the real truth bombs.
Well, I was like, I feel bad for women who don't have kids, almost as bad as I feel for women who have them.
That's hilarious.
No one ever laughed, but I was like, I feel bad for all of us. I feel bad for all of us.
Yeah.
And so, but now I think it's just like, life is life, and it can go either way. I got really, really lucky with my son, and I just love him to pieces. And I talk about this in my show, but my mom died when I was pregnant. I don't know if it was over a 6-week period. I was 8 months pregnant.
Jenna.
That's really tough.
So I went from being like, I don't even, like, I kind of disassociated during my pregnancy, and I was like, I'm just going to pretend this isn't like, I got pregnant right away, and I was just like, I'm not going to think about this because it's like, I was like 39, so I was like, maybe I'll I just,
Right.
I kind of ascribed to the power of negative thinking. It's so weird. And I have joked about this too, but my husband's last name is Epstein, so we did name the fetus.
No.
I know, it's awful. But we named the fetus Jeffrey, and so I put it in the
Something happened,
pregnancy
it's not that
app.
bad.
Yeah, no, I know. I was like, if anything happens, it can be like Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. It's
Power
a
of
joke I've
comedy.
told. It's a joke I've told on stage. But we had this pregnancy app, and they were like, Jeffrey Epstein's the size of a cherry. Like it was just very. So I just didn't.
You're fun.
I know, but I do that because I didn't. I've had like so many women miscarriage, like 1 in 4. You're always miscarrying. I love that. Always miscarrying.
Never not miscarrying.
Never not miscarrying. But I was like, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the minute that my mom was sick, I was like, oh my God. And I felt so lucky that she got to see me be pregnant. I mean, it was so horrific. And this is what the show's about a little bit. But I just felt so lucky that he was the antidote to my grief. So my situation was kind of
Perfectly orchestrated.
perfect. I killed my mom. No,
Thank God your mom died so that
know.
you can have a baby.
No, but
it worked out.
Well, it just was one of those things that my point is life comes at you fast. And I think when you're in New York in your 30s, your life is great for them. I mean, like if you're a single woman, you don't have kids, it's like the best place to be.
Yeah.
And as long as you like have a mom, you can be a kid.
Oh,
And
that's
then I remember because I remember when I told her I was pregnant, I was so scared I made like a bad joke with her. I was just like, well, I don't even want to say it because I was such a child about it. And she was like mad at me. And you can be a kid as long as you have a mom. And then when you don't have a mom, you're just like, oh my God. And so
I'm the adult now, yeah.
I'm the adult now. And so just the fact that I have him just felt like a gift.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful and beautiful. You're like, ugh, so lame.
No, I know.
How old is your kid? 3 or
Almost 3.
almost 3? Okay.
That's cool.
And then, can I ask, what did your mom get sick with?
She had pancreatic cancer.
Oh.
And it was like
man.
over a 6-week period.
Oh.
So
Super quick.
It was
So when they found it was already like, I mean, I know there's no cure, but.
Yeah, no, she was too weak to get chemo. I have a lot of
wow.
like I have a lot of like sadness and anger about it, which you do when you're grieving. And
Towards the
then
medical industry or?
towards my dad, who's a doctor. I hope he's not watching this.
That's
Oh,
so
shit.
interesting.
Can we cut that?
Yeah.
Can you put a timestamp for that?
For sure, absolutely.
Oh my God.
No, I was only asking because my dad passed away a couple years ago too, and it was like there's a lot of
Cancer or what was it?
No, he had cardiac arrest.
Oh,
he was
geez. I'm
dead. He
sorry.
was resuscitated. It was a whole thing. He had hypoxic brain damage
Oh,
when
Jesus.
they resuscitated him. So it was like dealing with an 8-year-old. Really crazy stuff.
God.
But like I just, I'm still grappling with feelings I have towards the medical industry. That's why I was asking about that. But it's,
I think there was a lot going on. My mom had this like mild MS her whole life. She never
wow.
told me about. That was this is really dark.
Shit.
How dark do you guys
Oh,
get?
we get dark. We get dark.
people love
She
dark.
never told me this, but she was like brutally raped in college. Some guy snuck into her dorm room.
Oh, my God.
And like at knife point. Like all that. She never in her whole life told me about it. I found out after she died. Her best friend. We did this like Zoom.
After she died.
Well, I knew about it, but I didn't know the details.
Okay.
And then we had this, and I love her best friend, and I hope she's not watching either. But we had this like Zoom memorial, and the best friend like told the whole Zoom like this. She wrote this like whole piece about what happened to my mom, and my sister and I were just like everybody, and there were children on the Zoom, and we're like, what's happening?
No, grief is weird.
Grief makes people weird.
Yeah.
And then when she ended, I was just like, and Susan's available for children's parties. I was just trying to like lighten the mood. I was like, but that experience triggered an autoimmune reaction. And so my mom had this like very low grade form of MS her whole life, never told me about it.
Shit.
She and her friend used to joke because I would like start doing comedy and like telling rape jokes. And then I had my true crime show where I was like going after like men who murdered and abused women. And I was like, I don't know where this came from. And then when I found out that happened to her, I was like, I guess I don't know about epigenetics, but like, I remember dating a guy once and he was like, who hurt you? And I was like, I don't know. But when you're raised by somebody who had that level of trauma. So I bring all this up because she also, I think that when she was starting to get symptoms, and pancreatic cancer is the one that like just gets you before, before you have symptoms. But I think when she started to get symptoms, she thought it was the MS coming back to get her.
I see.
She didn't know, and so did, my dad. They didn't know that it was this. So yeah, I went to see, I found out she was sick. It was the night before I taped my stand-up special.
Oof. Jesus
There's
Christ.
a whole...
there's no business like show business.
Well, so the day I found out she was sick with cancer. I thought worst case scenario, she would have a year to live. And then we did photo shoots. We did press photos for this stand-up special. And I'm at the Music Hall of Williamsburg. I'm 7 months pregnant. They're like, smile. And this poor, like the assistant to the photographer was trying to get me to smile. I didn't tell anyone what had happened or that my mom was sick. And she's like asking me all these questions. Where are you going after this? Are you about to go on tour? And I'm like, no, I'm going to see my mom. She's like asking me all these questions. I'm like trying to be nice, trying to smile, like fully panicking. And then like a couple of minutes later, they're trying to get a photo out of me. And she goes like, just on the count of 3, think about your mom. And I just burst out crying. And this poor, I think about her all the time, the photographer's assistant, because she had no idea that she made this like 7 months pregnant woman cry. Oh, no. And then a friend of mine, Megan Deneen, who was Peacock at the time, she was producing the stand-up special. Her, I think parents had recently just died. Also one of my producers, her parents and sisters. So there's like a lot of people who had dealt with grief who could surround me, and they did. And I remember being with Megan and like talking to her in a room, and I almost took my mask off because I was pregnant. It was during one of the COVID waves, and then she ended up having COVID. And like the next day, had to not be on set, and we were like so glad I didn't take my mask off. But it was like, and then I went to see my mom, and I talk about this on stage, but the Galleys copy of my book had just come out, so I got to read her the whole Galleys copy of this book. I was a performer for 15 years. Like it's called Not Funny, and it's about being a performer for 15 years. And I read her the book over 2 days. I'm in a surgical mask, like just in case I did have COVID, I didn't want to like compromise her chemo. I'm trying not to cry. I'm hardly able to breathe because I'm so pregnant. And when I finished, she said, are you going to do a book on tape? And I said, that's the plan. And then she said, well, then you should hire someone to help you on the performance.
That's moms keep being mom.
I know. I know. And so, and then she was like, go back to LA. I was in the middle of production on this true crime show that no one saw. It's really good. It's like a feminist true crime show called Indefensible on AMC Plus. And it was like this horrible episode about the death penalty. And I was like interviewing a man whose son was murdered, and I'm pregnant and grieving. And then she didn't want me anywhere near her because she just like didn't want me around. I tried to be with her and I couldn't sleep or eat. And she was like, get out of here.
Really?
And then I found out she wasn't going to make it till my son's birth, and I had to like fly back and say goodbye.
Yeah. What a moment, man.
I know.
Life. I mean,
I know. And now I'm doing like a show about it, which is so funny because I'm like, I don't like to cry in front of my coworkers, but
yeah, such is life, though. I mean, you got it. That's crazy set of circumstances.
I know,
crazy.
But it happens to everybody. That's the thing. The older you get, you're like, everybody. There was a Joan Didion's book, A Year of Magical Thinking, or The Year of Magical Thinking. Yeah. Everybody, it's like one of the books on like the grief, book tour that you read.
Oh, that's for grief?
Yeah, it's about her husband's
It's
death.
about,
It's
like,
the year after her
John.
husband
Yeah.
died.
So, but
Mark
he-
Maron, when Mark Maron said that in his special about grief, he was like, they just like kind of throw you a copy. I was laughing so hard because it's kind of like the only thing that people think.
Yeah, you just read all the books. Crying in H Mart was another one that really got me. That was such a beautiful book. But John is quoted as saying, like, everyone catches up to everyone in the end. Like, we all, like, that was a crazy thing that happened to me. But, like, just the older you get, every single person, dies or will be touched by these things.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes me angry. I mean, I don't know what your experience with talking about like grief in your work is, but I remember when I like first felt ready to talk about my dad's death on stage, because I'm like, well, we're going to do this on my timeline. And then you forget about the audience's timeline and how how they are not ready to hear about your dad who they didn't know's death. And then I would just get so fucking angry. And I'd be like, you know what? Death is coming for all of you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, better fucking start thinking about it now, because this is the one of the very few things in human existence that we all share. And I'm actually disgusted at you because you haven't taken a goddamn second to think about it. Like that was in the anger part of the grief, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of am like, as much there's a lot of death in my life, but also it's something that even before there was death, I was like, even as a child, I mean, yes, I'm a little Wednesday Addams, but like I was ready for it. It was never something that I was like, this isn't going to happen to me. And I feel like so many people are walking around like, oh, death is something that happens to other people, not me.
I think our culture is very death illiterate.
For sure.
And I think we do, in a sense, I understand why people don't want to be around it. I remember a friend of mine was producing a podcast on grief, and it was before any of this, and I just remember thinking, good for you, bye. Like, you just don't even want to think about it.
I think about it all the time.
I know, my comedy. I've always been morbid, but I think I was partly morbid because I had like such a shock. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't describe your comedy as morbid, though. I would describe your comedy, and it's kind of similar to Corinne's comedy, of just looking at the fucking truth and not sugarcoating it. but that is what it is. Like you said, you had a podcast about true crime.
No, it was a show. It was a TV show.
Or TV show. The amount of men that murder their wife or their girlfriend because they're cheating and they just don't want to fucking break up with her. I mean, it's just the truth of life and the truth of the way certain groups behave. It's just it is bleak.
Yeah,
but it's like
it is bleak.
That the truth is morbid. You're not morbid.
Thank you. I do feel like America is catching up with my comedy. I've always gone to the UK because they have a darker comedic sensibility over there. Yeah. But after the past couple years of everything that's happened, I think it feels like we're ready for it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's half the people who are ready for it, and I love that. And then there's the other half who's on the completely other side, where they just want like the silly putty version of stand-up comedy, just something silly and light and not tackling any real issues. And there's a place for it, for sure.
Yeah.
I love watching videos. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's a genre of video on YouTube where guys just run down grocery store aisles and with jugs of milk and they explode all over. And this to me is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I get the other side.
Yeah, escapism.
But that's not what I'm like looking to do for personally.
I also think that there can be, so like in the show I'm trying to, I don't know why, but there's like an optimism, or like in the true crime show there was a catharsis because it was like looking at fucked up cases of injustice. Like one episode was about the rough sex defense or consent defenses. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being funny because I got to sit down with this defense attorney who basically helped a guy get away with murder by convincing a jury that the victim had choked on his dick. Which seems funny, but it's so fucking dark and sad, especially as a comedian when you're approaching. I'll send the piece to you.
That's fascinating.
I put it on YouTube. I probably wasn't allowed to do it, but the piece is on YouTube because consent defenses are illegal in the UK, but they're legal here. And I talked to a medical examiner in the piece who's like, there's no way anyone can like consent to die like that. Like it takes 5 minutes to strangle someone. It's not an accidental thing.
Yeah, it's a consistent action.
And like the jury in the case allowed the defense to talk about the victim's vibrator in her nightstand, but the defendant wasn't allowed. Like they weren't. The prosecution wasn't allowed to like show the defendant's history of domestic violence. So it was like just so the misogyny on top of the
They just made her
misogyny.
seem promiscuous,
Crazy
which is,
and a
of
slut.
course, the
And then as
woman
we're
101.
As we're making this piece, I was like, how do I make it so that it's not an ad for the defense attorney?
Right.
Because I don't want him to get more business. I almost called the episode Better Call Padowitz, which was his last name, but they wouldn't let me do that.
Damn.
But then I talked to this like grizzled cop, this woman who was like, it's not rocket science. Everyone knows in a sex crime, you attack the victim. That's what works.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a sex crime. There wasn't even he just strangled her. He actually texted a friend, I killed Francisca. I killed Francisca. The whole thing was so
Jesus
sad.
Christ.
I talked to her granddaughter. But then in the then like in that interview at the end with him, I was able to just ask questions. Like, and one of the questions, I just was like, have you ever sucked a dick? And he was like, well, I don't have to answer. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to slut shame you. That's your job. So it's just like,
nice.
there's a catharsis at the end of the piece. So it's like when you feel angry and powerless about this dark shit, you can use comedy to just kind of like, alleviate some of the tension, but then also point people in the direction of like,
Of the
hey, we
truth.
can actually also advocate for consent defenses to not be used in U.S. courts.
Yeah.
Why was that attorney willing to sit down with you?
Because it was on AMC Plus, and I'm still so under the radar. Nobody knows who I am. It's great.
But so like what can you tell, like what's the pitch you give them, like what that the show is about?
Well,
just a true crime
the show was about, it was, I don't exactly know what our pitch was, but
Right.
he is a defense attorney, and he did think he was going to get business from it.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
And
Get name
that was a
recognition.
huge win for him.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So he thought he was going to get, like I've gotten most people to sit down. Even when I was working at The Daily Show and John had been on air for 16 years in a media ecosystem that was like way less fragmented than it is now.
Yeah.
We got like pretty much everyone to talk to us because at the end of the day, like everyone thinks they're like a hero in their own story.
Right.
Everyone wants to be heard. I never take anyone out of context. We do have integrity in the process when we do this, but people think what they're saying is the right, So you just let them say what they want to say.
Their
Yeah.
heads up their own ass, so you just let them go. Let
But
them talk.
now it is kind of like, there's huge business in being a piece of shit or like a racist asshole or whatever.
Yes,
Listen.
there is.
So there, it's
I don't even know how we stop rewarding that because you can't control.
You can't.
what
People want-
group
but
mentality does.
But we can because we're all complicit in it because we click it because it's a more interesting. Like it's more interesting to watch someone who's really good or really bad. Someone who has like an even keeled perspective is probably the most fit person to watch, but the most boring also. And this is the problem. It's constant. This is how you end up with Candace Owens, etc.
Well, also with social media, the democratization, we have no more gatekeepers. It's all just everybody can access there's no barrier to entry. So you
Right.
have people that are striking like a chord by, you're not, I don't want to name names,
You can.
Andrew Schultz.
Yeah.
But it's like, he harnessed the internet in a really positive way, but it's like, I remember seeing he did a TED Talk or something where he talked about like, I'm not overthinking it. I'm just speaking to people from their gut or whatever. It's like, yeah, you are appealing to people's like base instincts
Lowest hanging fruit.
that like we shouldn't. People are thirsty for it and they don't want to be lectured and they don't want to be talked down to and they're angry. And I get all that and good for them to have someone that they can connect with. But don't pretend you're not just appealing to our basest human instincts that like we should all try to evolve beyond. We should try to not be sexist and racist and shitty.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Well, that's kind of what bothers me is like I feel like comedians were supposed to be like not like it doesn't even have to be smarter, but just like more interesting thinkers, like not presenting ideas that the general public already thinks right back at them. Like
But that's what people want. Also with
because
like
they're dumb.
it's
Yeah.
not, I don't think it's okay. It could be that, but it's also like
or they're inundated.
lazy.
They're inundated with
we
information.
don't
They're
have
just tired.
community anymore. Everybody's
Yeah.
so
Sure.
isolated, so we don't have community. So you're looking at these people online as your friends. It's parasocial relationships.
Oh, yes.
It used to be like Stephen Wright is a brilliant comedian.
Sure.
I've always loved Stephen Wright's comedy. I'm not looking to that. I'm not looking to comedians to be my friends, but I think younger generations, especially in a social media era, like that's who you look to.
To how to think. That like
How
who's going to shape my way of thinking.
because people are lonely. So that's kind of I think that's what it's about more so than it ever was before.
Yeah, and and it also makes sense in a time when, not that we ever really trusted politicians, but I feel like the distrust is kind of out in the open now. Like everyone knows don't trust politicians. And so you have to listen to other people speak about those same issues. And that's where it ends up in the lap of someone like Joe Rogan or Andrew Schultz or Theo Vaughn. Or
Yeah,
We're going to be okay.
No, but it is encouraging. Like I want to say positive things about those guys. Like I do think, again, they might have helped usher in this era, but they also do care about like free speech. They do care about nice, democratic principles. So I don't know Theo. Like I actually don't, but I do feel like with Andrew,
I think he definitely cares about that. Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, I've heard Theo and Rogan recently speak about, there was like a TMZ video of Theo Vaughn at the airport, and they were asking him about what he thought of Trump's immigration policies. And he was very candidly like, I think it's disgusting. They're getting people on their way to
really
appointments. And I'm like, okay, you have a heart. And I knew Rogan had a heart, but like that's why I was so
and when
confused
like Andrew
when
was
he was
like,
promoting these people.
Right.
Because I'm like, you aren't a heartless scumbag. Why are you doing
And I used to be friends with Andrew. Like I like know him. And so, when he was like, this isn't the guy I thought he was. I don't know how but it was like, yeah, no, dude. Yeah. And like, yeah, I've lost touch with him over the years. But, I have faith.
How have those guys got
because they get a lot of, they're making so much money. It's a grift.
I guess so.
If Donald Trump wanted to be on my podcast, I would put him on my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I would want to grill him though. But yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
I would love for him to
I would
come on
definitely,
Guys With Friends.
I'd definitely have people in there. I would not want to get assaulted, but
I would just read his Wikipedia page of all these sexual assault allegations. Say thoughts.
I feel like he'd leave the interview pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes.
Yeah,
just get to Ivanka, and he's like, "Oh, you're leaving already? That was the first one."
Yeah.
Well, I think people also because comedians were used to being so bold, but I think you don't really know how bold you're going to be until the president of the United States or the former president of the United States, depending on what the timing is, walks into the room. Like, I think we all think we're very big and brave until someone with power walks in.
I had a situation where I was next to him. I was
Trump?
Yeah, I was on this movie. These two guys, do you know The Good Liars? They're political pranksters, and they had this movie, and we shot on the campaign trail in New Hampshire, and I played a producer in their movie, and we wanted them. They did this bit where they had these this is 2015, and they were like Trump supporters before it was actually a thing. Like they were OG.
Before it was cool.
They got me interested in their movie because they did this bit where they had MAGA hats at a rally of his. And they were like, yeah, woo, and he liked them, he acknowledged them. And then like an hour later, they started being like, you're boring, we're bored, tell us a joke. And that to me was like the most brilliant way to deal with Trump. Because to call him boring is it. So I was like, I want to work with these guys. And they're all on TikTok. They've done a bunch of brilliant bits in front of the NRA. They're fearless. They're great. Cool. And so we were shooting this movie, and they had a bit where they had these like T armbands, and they're like, wouldn't it be crazy if people actually wore them? Well, guess what? Everybody took one. They weren't even thinking about it. And I was like, the way this will work in the movie, because I still had like my producer brain on. I'm like, you just need to get somebody in a Trump town hall wearing it. To establish the bit, whatever. And so I was like, they were like, we can't go into the town hall because we're too recognizable. And I was like, let me see if I can go in. So me and the female DP, I went up to the door. It was a sold-out town hall, and I was like, we're with Women for Trump before that was a thing.
Wow.
They let us in. I have photos of it, and on video. They let me right behind Trump.
Wow.
I'm physically right behind him when he walks in. He makes a beeline for me because I'm the only one under 80 in the front row.
Right.
He goes to shake my hand. I can't shake his hand. I'm like, I can't touch this man. And I'm freaking out because, Charlotte was videotaping. She was in the room. But I'm like, what do I do? And I just improvise. I should have pretended to fall asleep. Later, I was like, I should have done that. No, I was seated.
Okay.
I can show it to you. But I pretended to get a phone call.
Yeah.
And so he was giving a speech, and I got up behind him, and I was pretending to be on the phone.
That's really fun.
And they kind of kicked me out, but they didn't realize I was a prankster. And then we put in the movie me just being on the phone behind him. But I was like, how do I make it seem like he's boring? So I just got on the phone. But that was the moment I believe that Trump went from being a joke to being the New Hampshire primary in 2015 was a moment that he kind of became what he was. And I remember after that being in the car, just being like, not like I could have done anything, but I'm like, I should ask him about Russia. Should I? I was like, I wish I'd asked him a question. I wish I had
Had like a gotcha moment with him or
just
something.
something, because I'm like, I felt so scared that this felt, and I obviously you put pressure on yourself as a comedian. There's nothing I could have done. But I was like, what more? I remember Giulio Di Pietro was the director, and I just remember talking to him, and I was like, I was right next to him. Like I have a photo I'll show you, and he's like right. And then he was standing and blocking me because I think when I didn't shake his hand, I think he got a vibe. He's smart, you know?
Yeah.
And he just stood between me and the cameras, but it was on CNN. You see me, I'm just like next to him.
I don't know.
But when you said like, you know, you don't know what you're going to do when you're in that moment, like you kind of panic, and then I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even like, you know, like the guys too, I think they think, oh, I'm going to ask them tough questions, or I like asking my guests tough questions. And then exactly, Trump, like we joke around like he's not smart, but obviously he is a certain type
He's
of smart.
likable,
and he's funny.
and
So
he's
very
charismatic, and he's funny.
Yeah, so you yuck it up when you're in the room because he knows how to make the conversation go to, I'm one of the boys, I'm chilling, we're going to have a fun time. I mean, Eric Adams is, you know, Trump Jr. basically here in New York.
Wow.
He knows how to do that. He knows how to yuck it up and talk about nightclubs and talk about things that kind of everyday people do care about. Having a good time,
Cheap
having money to
groceries.
take care of, and having money to take care of their family. Like,
I mean, I didn't grow up religious at all. And I remember one time when I lived on 34th Street, the Pope came by in the Pope mobile, and I lost my mind. And I was so shocked at myself. I'm like, Krystyna, you don't give a fuck about Catholicism. But I was like, the Pope! It's the Pope! I like cried. I'm like, what the fuck? So, and I didn't even talk to him, and he wasn't charming. And so like, I can't, and I've heard comics say before he ran for president that first time, he is funny. He's very funny. And he's tall, and he's a presence, and he's blah, 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 you know. So, yeah.
we care about we just care about like celebrity and higher status very much, especially in this country. I've had people I've had fans come up to me on a airplane, ask me for an autograph, and then the guy next to me goes, "Who are you?" And then I saw him in real time get invested in me. I go, you don't even know. You have no idea who I am. I'm not meaningful to you in any way. But then he goes, are you famous? If you have to ask someone, are you famous? You're probably not famous.
Yeah.
I was like, you answered your own question, babe.
I remember I was in the Washington Square Park, might have been in either high school or college, and I saw Janine Garofalo walking her dog. I know.
When we interviewed her, I was like,
I know.
I still get nervous around her.
I know. I love her so much, but I remember, so I was just like, hi. And now I know we know her because she's like around. But there's this kind of man was like, who are you? And she was just like, if you don't know, it doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
So cool.
That's what it is. Like, if you have to ask me, it's obviously I have not impacted your life in any way.
But like the Red Pill podcast guys that we're talking about, like in the presence of Donald Trump and JD Vance, they acted like the giddy little schoolgirls that they make fun of.
I didn't watch. I know. I didn't watch
and I
them.
was like, this is hilarious.
Not. There wasn't even like one indicting question on any level. Like.
No.
JD,
no challenges, no challenges, and like Joe Rogan challenged him a couple times, and he allowed Trump to skirt around it, like, because that's what I'm saying. Like I believe Joe Rogan is somebody with integrity. Like I've always respected the way his brain works. Yeah, me too. I know, me too. But like they acted like a chick trying to fuck, you know,
a guy trying to fuck a chick.
Yeah.
No.
They did. They acted like they were
a
actively
thirsty
aroused.
guy at a bar.
Yeah. But it was the power that was making them horny.
Right.
I imagine.
Right. Of course. No, there's I don't know how safe it is to just shit on all of them publicly.
No, I mean, they
but it's a bummer. Like, Tim Dillon's so funny and smart. Like, why are you up JD Vance's ass? What the fuck is going on?
It's a little weird.
I genuinely am a fan of Tim Dillon and his comedy, and I expect more from.
It's the thing is, like, I don't see a lot of male comedians, and they don't have to have morals. They don't have to with their comedy. You can absolutely be a scumbag, and there's like a total market for that. So I guess I just get mad because
like the South Park guys and
they do have morals in my
Colbert and Jon Stewart. These guys are
Thank God for them. Thank God. They make me feel sane. You know.
I know.
What you were talking earlier about AI. Where do you what? I'm trying to grapple with like what the threats are
So I think, and this is my TED Talk was about, my TED Talk was really just some jokes that I tried to kind of shape into a TED Talk. But the idea was that, I'm not worried about AI replacing my stand-up comedy because my stand-up comedy is not profitable. No one's coming for my abortion jokes. So it's kind of like, I'm like, and I was gonna have a mic, and then at the last minute I was like, no, I want the TED Talk thing. Because it's so much funnier if you're just like, if you have this on and you're like, it's the abortion jokes.
That's so
that
funny.
make us human.
That's so funny.
So that was the TED Talk. It was like the abortion jokes, metaphorically. I remember I was like, I looked at somebody in the audience and they were just like,
it's amazing.
But so I do think kind of those unique, if you're an artist, whatever makes you unique and weird or unpalatable is the thing that might, be a good thing to embrace right now, because that's not going to be taken over by AI. But can they write an episode of 2.5 Men? Yeah. Will they be able to write network TV and maybe even yes, it's moving so quickly. Are they going to replace every other job? Entry level. I mean, they're not just coming for artists. If anything, we are more insulated than a lot of other professions. And there was another TED Talk that the whole TED thing is so weird. It's just like this week-long event. I didn't realize tickets are over $12,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
And it's just
we just did TEDx. Those tickets were like $50.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. I kept calling it TEDx, and they're like, it's not TEDx. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, see, we did the opposite. We kept calling TEDx TED.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
act like the job you want.
I know, right? I sold my book there, and this guy came up and he was like, I'm such a fan. Like, how can I support you? And I was like, do you want my Venmo?
Yeah, give me money.
Yeah.
And he sent me $500.
Hell yeah.
Good man. Good man. That's
you.
an ally.
Yeah, I thought so.
That was super Gen Z of you. I feel like
it was so Gen Z of
good
me.
For you.
Good move, though.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Thrilling.
I know. I was like, this pays for like 2 days with a nanny, which
pretty sick.
Sounds crazy. But yeah. So there was this woman gave a talk about how meaning is really important and feeling needed, and don't be afraid to ask people for help, because when you don't ask someone for help, you're depriving them of getting, feeling meaning from helping you. Like, it's just, it was really interesting.
That's a good point.
And then when you think about AI and how all these kids are not going to have those entry-level jobs, they're not going to have that like sense of meaning, even if you're just like collating paper for like a bank because like you want a banking job, like those jobs are important. And so it is scary with AI, just how it's going to take away all these things that make us feel meaningful. And that to me is really scary. Like the Luigis of the world, this is a rant, but it's like that guy had everything. He was so smart. Then he was in pain with I don't know what happened with him, but I just think with like a whole generation that is like chronically online, being fed information and misinformation that's scrambling their brain. They're not with friends and community, and now they won't have jobs to go to. I just feel for them all, and it also scares me. In a country where it's easy to get guns. Like, it's just like, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I had a
recipe for
joke about
disaster.
Luigi go viral right before I took all my stand-up online to run for mayor, but it was basically like, and it was like right as the news broke, so we didn't know everything about it, but I was like, oh yeah, a guy's back hurt for a couple days, and now another man is dead, like basically. And like, it went viral. I mean, some people, because there was like super pro-Luigi people, and then people who were like, don't kill everyone else.
Look, I know, I see your face. I don't want to get in trouble. This is something that could get me in trouble, but I just like...
What, saying that you didn't celebrate when Luigi killed someone?
Okay.
Was his name Brian Thompson? I mean, he was a CEO.
Yes. And he had children and a wife.
And he worked his way up to that. I mean, like...
But it just happened again last week in New York City.
They glossed over that.
The shooter.
The Blackstone CFO.
With the shooter. So LePatner is her last name. So it happened again.
But that was more random. I mean, did he go for her?
No. It was, when you look into the facts, yes, it was random. She was just in the fucking lobby. But the story got skewed it into something where they're like, yes, this guy's coming. This is Luigi part 2. And people were celebrating her death. And then one of my friends, it turns out this is her good friend. So I'm reading her Instagram stories about like her grief over the slaughter of her friend who has young children. And like, I don't always like to point that out because I do think that childless women also should be mourned in the same way.
That's true.
But
we never will.
But as the daughter of a dead dad, I get it, you know? So all these feelings, but yeah, like there is, but this is what I'm talking about. It's almost a boring perspective because I'm like, do I understand why we want to go out and kill healthcare CEOs? Yes, of course I do. But do I think this is great? Was I like, ooh, yeah, Luigi? No.
The social contract is like, it's broken across the board. You know, we people are angry and we need to find a way to fix the system.
But here's the thing.
You also can't just shoot people. And
there's a healthcare bill that got introduced named after him. Right? You guys didn't read this?
But there's like 10,000 bills introduced people go crazy with it. So
I don't know.
I'm sure there was.
When I read about that, I'm like, well, that feels a little dangerous because people are going to go look at the direct action.
Right.
See, this is the thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who did it, but the problem is, I mean, Republicans are notorious for this.
Like a headline.
They like to just like every day they're introducing a bill like the "I hate trans people" bill, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, look what's happening!" And then I'm like, well, that does not mean the bill is becoming law. You can, I
did read about some legislation. I don't know if it was named after him, but was it named after him?
It says a proposed California ballot initiative informally named after Luigi Mangione, the alleged assassin of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, aims to bar insurers from delaying or denying doctor-recommended procedures or medications. Oh my God, so many ads. Again, because this is, of course, there's so many ads on this because it's a sensational headline.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a smart move if you want to get your bill attention.
Right.
Because that's the problem. Like, there's so much performativeness in politics, so you have to be, you have to have the creative mind of an artist, but then also have the hustle and corruption of a politician.
Right, I know, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up, but at the same time, like, no, people have been trying to get attention over this healthcare issue for decades. The amount of stories I've seen over my 37 years of life of like kids kids needing wheelchairs.
We need to have universal healthcare. The whole thing is so crazy.
My first professional job in the industry was working as an intern on Michael Moore's Sicko. So I'm thinking, my literally entire career so far, this has been an issue.
A huge issue. But how do you fix it?
So my first job out of college, I worked at a consulting company in the healthcare practice.
Oh, whoa. Interesting bird's eye view.
No, I know. And I was like an anthropology major, and I kind of went in with the mantra, I want to fix the system. And we were working for a large health insurer in Florida. And I remember, I don't know why, I had access to the CEO. And I said something to the effect of like, because they have like 8 types of meat at their breakfast buffet. And I was like, you're poisoning your own employees. Like, what do you, it was so dumb of me. And I totally got fired from that job.
For saying that?
For all sorts of things. It was a crazy job. But after working there for a year and a half, I was just like, I want to, I actually didn't get fired. It was like a conversation where they're like, will you stop doing comedy so you can focus on this? And I was like, no.
Hell no.
I just was like, I want to make fun of the system. I don't think we can fix it this way. And it wasn't a way to fix it. They hire these companies because they can't fire people internally. So they have consultants come in and like do all this research and then, fire people to fire, whatever. It's a kind of like, consulting is a more outdated industry than it used to be, I think. I don't know, but it's just part of like they're kind of like parasites on the, white collar workforce.
Yeah.
I got the job. It was kind of it's a long but kind of funny story about how I got the job.
What? Well, how'd you get the job?
Let me see it. We can maybe cut this, but I'll tell you. So I was, I wanted to get a job after college, and this was like a top 4 consulting firm.
Wow.
And I went in for the first interview, and I kind of bombed it. But then at the end of the interview, I was like, because they have case interviews, which is like how many pennies can fit inside this room.
Wow.
And you have to use your logic to answer it.
Okay.
And I wasn't aware of that. So then after I bombed it, because I was doing improv and I was just kind of like fearless, I said, I could have I didn't realize that you were going to throw a case interview at me. There are these like vault guides to cracking the case. I could have just studied this and given you an answer that you wanted. And he's like, well, come back for round 2. I appreciate your gumption
Honesty.
or whatever. So then I studied the shit out of the case interview. And I still remember, like, with these types of questions, they're basically problem-solving questions, but they fit into, like, 4 formats. There's, like, the 3 C's, which is, like, cost, competition, something else. The 4 P's, product, price, place, promotion. Porter's 5 forces, which are, like, supplier power, buyer power, availability of a substitute, barrier to entry, barrier to exit a country. These are like different business school ways to address business problems or whatever.
Okay.
So our question was, it's 1990. Starbucks is my question. Starbucks is your client. It's 1990. How would you advise they expand internationally? They leave the room for half an hour, and then you just kind of go through your logic.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that was a Porter's 5 forces question. So it was like, where do you go? Like, look at like competition, look at barriers to enter. Like, you know, in countries that have like unions, you don't want to invest in those countries as a business, as a sociopath, because you don't want to pay workers. So I answered it all. And then at the end, they were like, okay, great. So where would you advise us to go? And I wasn't actually thinking of the countries. But because I was studying anthropology, I took a class on arms trafficking and sex trafficking.
Sweet.
And I was like, where do those do well? Emerging capitalist economies with low government regulation.
Yeah.
So I was like, I would go to Russia. I was just like named a couple countries. And I was like, I know you think you want to go into the UK, but I wouldn't because of labor and yada, yada, but I would go. And I said China. And then I was like, anthropologically, you think they drink tea, but because of blah, 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 blah. And then they came back in, they're like, no one's ever aced the case interview. Starbucks was our client in 1990, and like we went into the UK and like failed miserably at first, but then it was crazy.
I just got chills.
I got the job
That's
because I understood, because it is like high flow of capital, low government regulation.
You want to understand what their goal is, and then you can help
it's like
them get
where
there.
sex trafficking and arms trafficking do well, businesses can thrive. You know,
Jesus Christ, this is. Do you think that? I wonder if.
But that was like the value of a liberal arts education. It teaches you to connect the dots in different ways.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. I wanted to do well at that job, and it just wasn't for me. I was like flying. I was living in Chicago, doing improv at the same time, flying, to different places, and it was such a weird job, and I wasn't able to make any positive change. Maybe had I stuck with it, but I don't know. I mean,
it's got to be an interesting experience though, just to see how they tick, how their brains tick and stuff. So you can kind of have an inside view of like, I mean, these systems aren't going away unless capitalism goes away, it seems.
I am not anti-capitalist. I think we just need regulations. Like we just need sound, smart regulations, you know. And I think like I always love Elizabeth Warren. I think, you know, she's not anti-capitalist. She just like. And that's also back to, you know, why we're in this position, because the people who have more money than God were the ones who were like, we don't want regulations on AI.
Right.
And that's why we're here. And so that's why I think that we're here. So I don't know. I mean, people power, tapping back into your community, like supporting the people you can. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen going forward. I know I just said a lot of buzzwords that make no sense, but I don't have any answers.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
No, I was thinking if Mexico would be a good place for Starbucks.
I was thinking Mexico too. That was my first one.
Right.
I was expanding Starbucks in my head.
Yeah,
right. Isn't that weird?
Mexico's my first answer.
Isn't that such like a weird anecdote that we can totally cut because it's probably...
No, I think it's interesting. Well, you said you took classes on sex trafficking.
I studied anthropology. I can't talk. I studied anthropology, and so I think one of the classes was on like... it was like on like violence.
Yeah.
Global perspectives on violence.
Yeah.
And so it was looking at arms trafficking and sex trafficking
But talk about
I used it to get a job. Oh,
I know,
maybe,
but
can we cut that? Maybe we should cut that.
If you want to.
I can't tell how angry and weird people are online. I mean, I'm sure your fans are lovely, but I just...
They get it. I mean, it's
You're
also
a female. They're not, the people who are weird aren't going to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, on YouTube, yeah.
I'm like legit serious. Our fans are fine. They're
Right.
They're normal. It's crazy. It's the crazy people on YouTube, and then they're just looking for the Shane Gillis episode. Don't you worry.
Wait, you talked to Shane?
Yeah.
He was lovely, right?
Oh, Shane's a long-time friend. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good interview.
He's very funny. I think he's very funny.
Oh, he's so funny.
Very funny,
I knew that guy was going to be famous when I met him like at some little tiny show at some fake Philadelphia comedy festival.
Wait, you're from Philly?
I'm not. She's from.
You're from Philly.
I'm from New Jersey, but yeah.
Wait, I'm from New Jersey outside of Philly.
Nice. So you went to Ocean City, New Jersey for your beach town? Yeah.
Ventnor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wawa country.
I wanted to ask one thing. I know we have to wrap, but just one question. I know a couple years ago you did a piece where you asked all or many male colleagues the same sexist questions that female comedians often get asked.
Yeah, that was in my book.
Yeah. So like what, I guess if you could summarize, like what did you take away from that in short? I know you wrote a big piece about it as well.
That I should have filmed it because it was
No one would believe you.
so funny to see them squirm. I mean, it was those guys are my friends. I asked Reggie Watts, Bob Odenkirk, Jon Stewart. Jim Gaffigan was like on the road, and so he mailed in his answers, so he sounded stiffer than the rest of them.
I know Patton Oswalt.
And Patton Oswalt.
I love him.
And Fred Armisen.
Okay.
And so it was just funny to be like, do you think men should accept Louis' apology? And just to kind of, and these are actual questions. I didn't go off script. I asked just questions that female comedian friends of mine and I have gotten. And I could source every single one because you have to, show the receipts.
Of course.
And it was really funny. And I remember just hearing them like chuckle, and I remember and freak out. I remember John was like driving at the same time as he was talking to me. He's like, "What? You were asked that?" And just it was. And at first, I think Reggie tried to be funny, but then it just he was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." So that was cool. It was cool to do that. And it was more of a performance that it ended up being a good chapter in the book, but I still have the audio recordings, but I wish I had filmed those questions because it was very funny.
And it's nice when you witness a male colleague feel the sadness that we've been feeling this whole time. It's just a glimmer and it's going to go away.
It did feel like they were like, oh, wow. Because I was like, when you're on tour, do you have kids? Or like, I remember asking like, when you're on tour, who watches the kids? And Fred Armisen's like, I don't have kids. And then when I was, and like someone else, I think Odenkirk was like my wife, but then he was like, he was the most sincere and it was so sweet. He was just like, it hurt so much to leave my kid, But it was fun to just ask them these questions where they've never, we're constant, all the questions were constantly on our back feet.
Right.
From the beginning of the interview.
Yeah. I'm trying to think I'm trying to think from like a conversation that I've read about a male comedian being interviewed. What the hell questions are they asked?
Well, they're just the baseline.
They
ask about your special. They ask
about
your
the
work.
jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't ask you to be sexy and funny.
Yeah, they don't ask you to chime in on social and worldwide
they don't
issues.
ask if Louis, if
Right.
like, they don't ask about like that type of stuff.
Because they're just representative of male comics. We're representative of all women everywhere who have undergone anything.
That's why in our live show that Corinne and I used to tour with, we would make men come on stage and do a banana eating contest for money. That was very nice.
That's what they're like. That's what their life is like now.
Yeah. Well, men are, maybe as a mother of a son, men are sensitive. No, but they're like, I also feel bad because they don't benefit in a lot of ways from this, what's put on them, the kind of masculine thing. And so, they're just like us. Men, they're just like us.
No, I wish they would have more space, especially early on, to feel their feelings so they wouldn't murder us.
That'd
be so cool.
It would be really nice.
Where can we find more of you? What would you like to promote? Where can we get more of that brain of yours?
Oh, thanks. So I'm going to be working a consulting job, and I'm going to Edinburgh, which I guess is closer to how you pronounce it. I always get shit for how I pronounce it. I'm going to the festival in Scotland. I'll be performing August 8th to the 24th.
Amazing.
At 4:15 p.m. at this place called the Monkey Barrel Hive 1. I have a new show called Motherfucker. And that's every day, August 8th to the 24th in Scotland. And then after that, I don't know what I'll be up to.
Okay. Mysterious.
I might be doing more shows, but I will post them on Instagram. So if you are curious or whatever, you can follow me on Instagram.
Perfect. We'll put your handle in the description of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so
guys
much
for having me. It was
down.
so nice to catch up.
Absolutely.
Your brain makes me feel better about being in the world, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. I feel
Love
the
the way
same
you
about
think.
you guys.
Thank you so much for being here. It's good to have you in New York.
Yeah.
We need more people like
We
you in
miss
New
you.
York.
I know. That's it.
This has been Guys We Fucked, the Anti-Slut Shaming Podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday. Sorry. Bye.